Hi, this is Amy with Talented Canine Dog Training. We are just getting our dog Hershey out of the car for his second session of reactivity training towards people, sights, and sounds. I realized I didn't introduce him very well in our first reactivity lesson video, so this is our dog. We've had him since he was a puppy. He's had some bad experiences with other people throughout his life, so people really make him uncomfortable and worry him a lot, so he will bark and growl at them. If you go to his playlist on my channel, in the playlist description, I have written more information about him and a little about his story if you want to learn more about him and what's going on. Today I am doing a voiceover because my mic was dead when I tried to use it, and it's probably better this way with all of the traffic noise anyways. So here we are just getting him sniffing. There is some cars and people over there that he is looking at. I realize I don't have the camera in the best spot. This is my first time recording at this location, and I wasn't 100% how I should set it up. I honestly thought we'd be further down, and yesterday when we were there in the car, everybody was kind of down parking towards the other end of the building, so I figured that's where people would be parking today, but instead they were actually parking at the other end right in front. So I do move the camera here in a little bit. You'll just have to bear with me. Every time you see him look in that direction, I am marking with his calm marker, nice, and then I am sprinkling some treats on the ground. I am letting him look for a moment, and if he looks for too long, I definitely use the marker word. Sometimes you will see me allow him to look and just see what he chooses to do. He has a lot of amazing moments later in the video where he looks and I allow him to look, and he makes the choice to look back at me instead of reacting to the people that he is seeing. So there he is looking, and I marked with nice, and I sprinkled more food on the ground. I am using some homemade treats. They are called the fishy treats. I make them myself. Dogs usually love them, so if you guys want the recipe or anything like that, then let me know. And I also want to say that if things look boring and it doesn't look like I have a reactive dog with me, it looks like he is a perfectly calm, happy lab that is just sniffing around. It just means that if that's how your session looks, that's how they should look. It should be pretty boring. It should be pretty not a whole lot going on. I do not want to see him reacting, because if he's reacting, that means that he is over threshold. He's having negative emotions, he's having negative associations, he will not get as much from the learning, and he might even stop taking food. So I'm doing my best to manage the situation. I have my car right there, so if something were to come up or anything and I had to get him out of the situation fast, I could easily just load him up and get him out of there. And I am doing my best to keep him under threshold so that he can be calm when he sees people and cars coming in. If he were to bark, in which case he has gotten to the point where he will just kind of look, and sometimes he'll just do like a woof, so he doesn't always super react. If he's home and he's outside and somebody pulls in that he does not recognize the car or the people, he definitely has a very big bark, and it definitely scares people, so especially with him being so big. So there, a person came out, he was sniffing, he definitely did notice a little bit, his head came up a little, but he was able to go back to sniffing, and his tail is nice and relaxed. It has that nice slow wag there. He's looking up, he looked at the person again, I marked and rewarded there. So he is doing a really nice job. We are using a lot of sniffing to help regulate his nervous system and help him calm down. There, the camera falls over, and when I went to fix it, the whole thing snapped off, so I actually had to load Hershey back into the car and fix everything. So here I am getting him back out of the car. I do expect him to stay in the car until I release him. So, I never want him to... That was a well-timed shake. Hershey was shaking in the car and my dog was shaking behind me. So I do want him to wait for permission before getting out of the car. So as I open it, you'll see me reward in the car, and then I will allow him out with his release word. Usually I use break. So back to sniffing, and there he gives me attention, so I mark and reward that because I like that in this environment he is still able to look at me. He's still able to give me his attention and his focus. That's awesome. And then I believe I was starting to run a little bit low on the treats here. Here a lady came out with a cart. It was being very noisy, and Hershey handled the noise very well. He didn't react at all. He barely even lifted his nose from the grass. That's wonderful. Lady goes back in and then back out. Hershey notices, and there, I believe that was one of the times where he looked, and without me saying anything, he immediately looked back at me, and I marked him as soon as he looked back at me. Nice. And I fed. Here I let him look again and rewarded, like marked and rewarded. Again, I never want him to look for too long, so I'll give him 2 to 3 seconds to look, and then if he looks away, I will mark then, or I will just mark and reward. So really kind of depends on what he's doing, but I don't want to distract or interrupt him like too soon, because I really do want him to be able to feel calm and be able to regulate himself without me needing to interrupt. There, he's coming to me. Car rolls in, and he did very well there. I believe here in a minute there is a car that comes in really close, and I was wondering if he would actually react to it or not, because it was coming just way closer than all the other cars did. So more sniffing, like here it is. Yeah, that car came really close, and he did not care too much. He did look for a minute. I marked and rewarded. So that was very nice. I believe here I ran out of treats, but I know that there are still some hidden in the grass for him to find. So I am allowing him to find some more of those treats. You might hear him bark in the background because somebody is at the shooting range near our house, and he is sensitive to noise. So again, I'm just letting him kind of finish finding the treats that I know are still in the grass. And then there is a dog, like somebody shows up with a little dog and it starts barking. And I know that I am out of treats, so I cannot mark and reward with anything. So I immediately just go load him back into the car because I know there's a couple more treats in the car. There it is. He noticed. He was very excited about it. And so I loaded him in, gave him the 2 treats I knew was in there. And then, I reeled in the leash and I closed the door. And we ended the session there. That was a really great session. It was about 10 or so minutes, and I'm really, really happy with how he did. Really great session. Until next time, bye.